Been absolutely stunned by iron chlorosis. They're getting the same fertilizer program as the rest of the orchard, which looks beautiful. And then right in here, there's this 4 acre patch where the trees are just stunned. So basically what's going on is when we deep ripped this ground 8 feet deep with a slip plow, it brought up a patch of lime in here. And that is now raising the soil pH to probably about an 8 and tying up all my iron for these trees. So basically they're not happy. They don't have any iron, and you need iron to create chlorosis into the tree to help it do its conversion and move nitrate and color and all that and get the thing growing, and it's basically stunted. And so what we did is we went out and put some drippers, 2 drippers on each side of the tree. And we're just treating this one area, which is about 3 or 4 acres, and I'm injecting iron E-double-D with a triple bond. And what we're doing is we're doing what I call isolation therapy. We're treating the isolated area, and we're putting the material concentrated right on the root system here, right where it needs to be. I normally irrigate with a fan jet, but the problem with the fan jet is that now when you irrigate, it spreads it out over a 360-degree sphere, and you're not getting enough material on these roots to get this thing to snap out of it. So isolation therapy is what's going on, and I'm gonna run 5 gallons on 4 acres of iron E-double-D with a triple bond chelated material. Now I say triple bond and I say E-double-D. Anytime you get a pH above 7.3, most EDTAs that guys sell aren't even picked up or available because the soil pH locks it up. So by using an E-double-D bond, triple bond, it is available to the tree. So it will pick it up immediately. And that's why we're putting it concentrated right on the roots, right where the tree is going to need it to help this thing get going. So yeah, this is what I call isolation therapy. Isolating the area where the problem is, and we're going to treat it probably once a month and get this area to pick up. So I will give you an update in 30 days to let you know what we see here. The same location with the same trees. See how this is done. So I'll be signing. Good afternoon, LinkedIn gang. I'm going to give you the most recent update on iron chlorosis utilizing isolation therapy. It's kind of hard to see the results with this camera, but the physical results we're seeing is all this new growth that came out, and the overall color of the trees have increased, definitely more green. But yes, this is the area where we're struggling, and this is a follow-up video of about 3 weeks ago, shot through the hoses. Each tree has 2 drippers. We're concentrated the iron E-double-D triple bond chelated iron. I'm also, once I received the soil test, we found also with the pH being 7.7 and iron almost non-existent, and free lime at 5%, which is just huge. So we actually now have also been injecting zinc E-double-D chelation and manganese E-double-D chelation. And we've gone as far as to also adding zinc sulfate, iron sulfate to raise the actual soil load. Those 2 items are not available, but what they will do is help increase the numbers on your soil test. They'll raise it up so we can actually over time bring some available. That's where the E-double-D comes in, and it actually, the trees will drink it immediately and becomes available in a high pH soil. One other tool that I've been advised to implement, which we are running through the fan jets, is a new product that most people do, water treatment. And when you run it at a high rate, what happens is it actually kind of burns out all the bicarbonates in your soil, and it will also burn out a lot of the free lime. And I know it works because I had some ranches, pistachio ranches, where we ran HCT, where we had a very small amount of free lime, and within 1 year the lime was completely gone, and I went from a soil pH of 7 to 5, and we had to do some lime treatments. So I'm using HCT in this location through the fan jets every irrigation, about 20 parts per million on a 400 gallon per minute pump. And it's utilizing that to condition the water, to deal with the bicarbonates, free up micronutrients, and to burn out the free lime, the naturally occurring lime, which is causing my problems with my iron chlorosis. And we're also doing foliars, iron foliar. I'm putting zinc, manganese, copper in, and a lot of iron foliar. And the next situation we got to deal with is now we're getting new growth on these trees. They're finally snapping out of it. The next problem also that I've got to deal with is citrus thrip. And you can see that guy right there was a nice growing new bunch of buds, and the citrus thrip had their way and stunted it. So we've got to address that. Anyhow, just giving you guys an update. We are moving in the right direction with the iron chlorosis. These trees are looking better and better every week, but it's just all about isolation therapy, treating the water, putting the correct source of iron in there, and countering out. Good afternoon, LinkedIn group. So today I'm going to give you guys a final analysis on my project I've been working on with iron, how to correct iron chlorosis in citrus, extreme iron chlorosis in citrus. I've got star rubies, and I've got some late navels. I've got it's a 20-acre block, and I would say there's probably 7 or 8 acres where we're having these issues with iron chlorosis. And this is the third final video I'm going to do on this to kind of show you the results we've received by doing what I call isolation therapy, treating the area basically instead of the entire ranch. We're treating more of where the problem is. And by doing that, this ranch is all on fan jets, as you know. But what we've been doing is injecting this into the drip. We ran some drip hoses out here just in the areas where I've got iron chlorosis. And I've injected the material straight on the root system. And last year at this time, this orchard was in total decline. And I had to do something aggressive to get this thing to turn back the other way. And my idea was to focus the material at a higher concentrated rate on the root system. And as you can see with this star ruby, this spring it was pretty sick and not growing, hardly had any leaves. The only leaves it had are the white ones you see there that had the sunscreen on from early on. And we were getting a lot of this dead growth coming off. And probably about 5 applications at a gallon an acre of an E-double-D triple bond. Now, double D, meaning the chelation is designed for a soil with a pH as high as 7+. This soil has a pH of 7.5, and the issue here is the free lime. There's a lime patch here, And the free lime here, we're at over 5%. It's just excessive free lime. So the trees just can't pick any iron up. So with the injections of the E-double-D, and I've been using another newer product that is made by a company called FB Sciences. We use a material, it's a the soil label product that has a lot of iron, zinc, and manganese. And it has a built-in technology that goes into the root system of these trees, and it's a binding agent which allows the nutrients to go into the tree so the tree could actually utilize it and gives it a burn time. So between the iron, E-double-D, the FB Sciences technology, we call it, humics, microbes, a lot of microbial materials. Let's see what else. We're running HCT, which is a water treatment. And the idea there is I'm trying to burn out all the free lime in the soil, help burn it out. And that's what HCT does. It works on bicarbonates. The water we're using, that's canal water, doesn't have much bicarbonates, but the soil is loaded in bicarbonates with all that free lime. But this tree here, this last spring, I was pretty upset. I thought it was done. It was not growing. It was sick. You can see all the dead wood. But now there's new life coming out of it. It's growing now. I'm happy. Time costs money. If these trees aren't growing and this area turns into a sick 4 or 5 acre area, it's costing me a lot of money, meaning no production. So this particular ranch way out there, there's no free lime. The iron levels are very high. Over here, there's a lot of iron. The trees look amazing. These are navels here. But as I go over here, this is where the lime patch is. And this is where we had the huge trees were just sick, not growing in this area right here. And now it's blending in with the rest of the grove by utilizing isolation therapy. This side is the star rubies, and I had a huge, maybe an acre here that was sick, and then I had trees spotty all over the top here. Iron chlorosis. This tree here, I mean, it's just transitioned into a lot of new growth. I mean, it's amazing. Iron is very important for chlorosis movement or development in a tree for making new growth. So between the irons, the isolation therapy, utilizing the correct materials through the drip, concentrated in the tree root zone, and I've probably put about 4 foliar nutrients on this containing iron with the specific delivery materials I'm using. Nutrient Technologies, FB Sciences, and managing the thrips. Those 3 things rotating got these trees alive, made them grow. So yeah, I'm going to conclude this and say that I'm pretty happy. And isolation therapy does pay. It's a pain in the ass because you gotta, treat only the area where the problem is. But if you can concentrate it 3, maybe 4 times a year to keep these trees moving, because the old soil is going to always go back to what it was to begin with. So adding iron in the chelated form that the tree can pick it up will keep it alive, keep it moving. So I hope you guys all enjoy. Right now, I'm actually in the area where we had a really, really serious problem with these trees that were just not turning. And look at all that new growth. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. These trees wouldn't grow an inch. They were stagnated. They would not grow. So we put it on isolation therapy, and we've been running a lot of iron, E-double-D chelated iron. I've been running a lot of iron sulfate. And we've probably had about 3 or 4 applications on there. We've also gone with Tiger 90 for sulfur on the berms. So I've been putting it to it, and it's paying off. Finally, we're seeing it. The hot weather, no doubtedly, is helping us out. But in combination with everything we're doing, I think it all works together. So today we're out running fan jets again, and I'm actually running more iron E-double-D through the fan jet. And then another thing that I'm doing also is we're running some soil microbes, bacteria, to help the tree, the soil, break down some of this fertilizer that's just sitting there. See if we can break it down, get it more available. Also, we're running HCT through the sprinklers, HCT. And the way that's going to help us is it's going to help burn out all the bicarbonates. The free lime is going to help burn that out. So yeah, a lot of progress here. Finally getting these trees that were sick in this about 3-acre area to finally snap out of it. Show you this one here. Yeah, look at this. The other thing too is last week we hit this, or about 10 days ago, we hit it pretty hard with a thrips material. And that also helped pull the tree out of stagnation with another shot of micronutrients, foliar, zinc, manganese, iron. Same goes for the soil, iron, zinc, manganese, all 3 E-double-D, E-double-D, triple bond. So yeah, moving in the right direction. That's what I like to see. And that's why we go as far as to doing isolation therapy. Not every piece of ground is the same. There's always differentiations in any piece of. The iron chlorosis, the spring fever, is finally being eliminated. Good afternoon, my name's Chad. I'm out here in Terabella taking a look at some citrus we got out here. Today I want to talk about managing citrus thrip on young citrus. The university is not a big advocate in managing citrus thrip on citrus, newly planted citrus, because they claim it's non-feasible economic-wise, and I have to disagree with that topic. When we treat these trees on a program, we get a lot more growth. We actually speed up the timing as far as like production-wise by probably a year. Normally these trees would start producing in about 5 years, a decent amount of crop to send a crew through. 4 years if you're lucky, but by doing the maintenance on the citrus strip, you could pretty much speed it up to a guaranteed right around 4 years. Right here you can see some of the damage these guys do. They pretty much stunt the growth. This is new growth that came out that got damaged by the thrip. But the biggest issue overall with the thrip is it puts the tree in a stagnation state. It just does not want to push new flush. It just stops it. So I put these trees on a program about every 3 weeks. We come through and spray a pesticide registered for citrus thrip, non-bearing. And as you can see, there is a lot of new growth coming out. And this is less than 10 days from the application. This tree here was in total stagnation, no new growth. And less than 10 days later after the treatment, we got new growth coming out. And whenever you see growth like that, it means you've got root development down below. So yes, treating citrus strip, I believe, will speed your growth up. And even in other orchards like Star Ruby, this is a Star Ruby tree here. Over there was a Barnfield late navel. This is a Star Ruby, and this is less than 10 days after the treatment. Just a huge explosion of growth. There is one caution to making these kind of treatments is you kind of want to throttle yourself back probably around September-ish, mid-September, because you want the tree to not produce new growth into October, because that'll lead into November and December where you'll have a bunch of new growth that's not hardened off or frost. But it is a great tool to treat these things. You can see the Star Ruby is semi-tolerant to thrip, but it still causes distorting of the flesh. Now, this is less than 10 days after the treatment. I think it's a cheap investment. It buys you a year of production, gets you on track to seeing some revenue come back after spending the amount of money it takes to get to the grove planted and to all the way to harvest. Good afternoon, LinkedIn gang. Today I'm going to talk about citrus thrips. Well, this orchard here is a Caracara block, and right now we've already sprayed 2 times on this block, and we're on about day number 5 from the last spray, and we're already breaking. And right now we're looking at scheduling a spray job again for Monday. We're probably about 10 days away from getting the fruit sized up enough to where we will not have to treat spinosad. And that was probably one of the last true chemistries that wiped out citrus thrip. One spray, you were done. Those days are long gone. So basically, we are having to combo materials on every spray, making the sprays expensive. But if you receive a lot of damage, you will not get this fruit into export. And that is the reason we're on such a strict thrip spray schedule. Every 7 days is about what it's taken. And we are surviving, we are winning the war every 7 days. So we will come back again on Monday, spray again. Common products we're using, like ABBA, we're using Danitol, Bathroid, all the majors with oil, and combinations are the key. That's the only way you will control this pest. I've had a couple people ask me about it. In the last few days, I guess they're battling the war and they're struggling. There's no silver bullet anymore. Thank you to our governor and our people in charge of this country. They're making it harder and harder to get new chemistries registered in this country. So inevitably, I think we're all heading to organic. It's not good, but it's the way it's looking. And you can see right there, there they are. They're going at it. They're just starting in 5 days. Good afternoon, my name's Chad Maddox. I'm a PCA with Gar Bennett, Lerdo, Bakersfield, California. I'm out here on location in Terabella, California, and right now we're doing an injection of calcium carbonate, ag lime, through the fan jets. And a lot of people that I've talked to about working with ag lime being injected from the hoses, drip, our fan jet, are always really nervous that it plugs things up. Well, it doesn't. It flows really nice, this material. It's ground down to a 300 micron, so it's a very, very small particle size. And it's gone into solution really easy, almost like paint, white paint. But our objective out here is we have just received a soil test, and we've got a pH of 5.8, calcium percentage hanging around 56%, magnesium 20%, and I've got hydrogen hanging around 4, which is a lot. Now, if anybody doesn't realize it, but pH is driven by hydrogen. The higher the hydrogen, the lower your soil pH, and the lower the hydrogen, most likely your pH will be higher. And hydrogen in the soil is actually reacted by free lime, naturally occurring free lime in your soil. In this particular soil, it does not have any free lime. So over the years of injecting other nitrogen source fertilizers, we've kind of built up some extra hydrogen coming off the conversion of NH4 to 3. NH4 is the unavailable form, and when it does the microbial conversion, there's a 1OH that comes off the N, and that one hydrogen floats around in the soil. It builds up, and then that's where we're getting this low pH. So we made the injection. We're going to do 8 gallons an acre, and this material is probably going to cost me about 50, 60, 55 bucks an acre. And the nice thing about it is we're actually treating the problem. When you go out with ag lime, you're spreading a lot of tons per acre in a lot of areas that don't have a pH problem. And if I had to bet, if we did a soil test and I sampled right where that water lands, the pH is probably 5.8. But if I sampled over here where the water does not land, I guarantee you the pH is probably 7. So the pH is obviously a problem right where the fan jet is hitting the tree, dropping down, and that's where the issue is. And the nice thing about this material is you're putting it right where the problem is, and you're correcting the issue at the site of the issue, not out in the middles or on the strip. So this is what makes it cost effective. You got no application fees, spreading fees. Ag lime, the last I checked, was close to 80 bucks a ton. And to correct something like this, most agronomists would recommend 2 to 3 tons. So that's expensive. 50 bucks, and I'm getting the problem solved right at the roots where the problem is. The other thing about this material that's good is it's grinded down to a 300 micron. So the minute it hits the soil, it's doing its job. A lot of these compost companies selling ag lime, you really need to ask them for the mesh size, because they sell a lot of garbage out there that does not have a very good fine grind. And I see it time and time again where I see ag lime laying on the ground doing absolutely nothing. It's got to get incorporated, and that's where this material really can shine. So I'm out here, just wanted to show you guys, figured it'd be pretty interesting to look at this. I'm not having any plugging issues. It's flowing really nice. It's injecting very easy. Good afternoon. I'm out here in Tulare County taking a look at some caracaras. We finally finished up the thrip sprays this year. Populations overall were pretty weak, but in this cara groves, being that it's such a young orchard, we had to spray 3 times to gain control of these thrip. As I will call, the yellow rain is finally stopping with our fruit drop. A normal drop at this time of year, June drop. Looks like it's finally subsiding. And the crop load looks pretty good this year. As you can see, it's holding pretty good. This rootstock on this cara is a C35, so it is a high horsepower rootstock. We put the nutrients pretty heavy to it. I've been using a lot of micronutrients, mostly zinc, manganese, and some iron. We did hit this quite a few times with Primacy Alpha, and the idea there is to improve the carbohydrate movement from the roots to the productive buds. This grove here last year was basically did not have any fruit. It all fell off, and a lot of the problem led to high nitrate. This orchard was planted in an area where we had a lot of compost stored here for years, and we got nitrate levels that are over 1,000 parts per million in the soil tests. So the trees were basically very vegetative for the last 3 years. This is their 4th leaf, and I was able to throttle them back, by not applying any nitrogen. And one thing that I never realized that I learned about is molybdenum. Usage of molybdenum, it actually converts nitrate into an amino acid. Kind of helps the soil digest the excess nitrate. And I noticed the difference in the tree was really amazing this spring. It was really went towards reproductive, very reproductive tree. And with no nitrogen, I still get a little bit of excess growth. But overall, the tree now is in a productive mode. And it looks like we're gonna get a pretty decent crop out of here this year for its first crop. We're looking at maybe, I'm being conservative, just give one box a tree is pretty fair. Which should probably equate to almost 10 bins an acre of caracaras. And this is a high density planting. We're looking at 200 trees an acre. And we're on berms. We did start out with drip, but we realized that we need more root structure, so we went to the fan jet, build up more root structure. And it's taken about a year, and boy, has it paid off, because as you can see, we got a hell of a crop coming on here. It looks amazing. I'd almost say it's probably on the edge of too much fruit for these small trees, but we are going to prune, and we'll remove a lot of this, lower brush, open up the centers, get more light inside the trees. But just an update in the citrus business. Thrip season's over, and the citrus crop at this point is looking pretty good. A lot of our late navels are looking really good too. And I believe a lot of it goes back to heavy usage of micronutrients. A lot of people don't realize how important some of these micronutrients are for setting next year's bud set. We just got done spraying sunscreen on these. That's another issue. Too much heat actually reduces carbohydrate intake to the buds, so that's the idea behind the sunscreen. And in this case, we used Oasis. And it will help reduce some of the sunburn. And basically we're looking at next year, already farming next year's crop, even though this year's crop's still on here. And we don't really need to push much potash because there's already a ton of it in the soil. We did compost. I went about 10 tons an acre. Actually, I'm sorry, 6 tons an acre, and that'll be basically all the fertilizer this grove will get, other than micronutrient applications. We do run liquid E-double-D chelated micronutrients. I have one called a citrus and crops mix, and it covers the wide basis of micronutrients to the soil. So between soil and foliar applied, which I use the nutrient technology line for my micronutrients, I have a product called Amplify and a product called CCS, Canopy Crop Sizing, and Molly-Mag. Those are the main ones that I'm using. So tuning out from Terabella, California. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. These iron, copper, and cobalt, utilizing the double D ortho triple bond chelation of this formula called Citrus and Crops Mix. And we're basically here using it because the soil pH, if you use a regular EDTA, it'll just plug up your, tie up all your zinc or manganese, whatever you're doing, and tree can't pick it up because the pH is too high. So that's why we're using an E-double-D to get it in the tree. That's right, E-double-D to get it in the tree. That's the idea here. We want to load this tree up with all the micros. That way, we have a better...
It's actually a fancy method. So what I have to go doing here is if there's anything that has some light scarring that I'm afraid to take back out, to put back into a commercial bin, so it's actually